Good day on the Beer Drinkers Digest. We are doing something special from Portland, Maine. The Foundation Epiphany Double IPA. I got this almost 2 weeks ago, and it's exactly 2 weeks old right now. And I realized I had not done a video review, which was kind of silly on my part. It's probably still very good after 2 weeks. And Epiphany is one of the most exploding, trending sort of IPAs from Portland, Maine right now, from a tiny brewery foundation that is about to expand. And I actually had it, I think one of the first batches last year when I went to Portland, and I left the day before they released cans of it. And people have been chugging down the cans, lining up in small lines for it. And I think the batches have kind of varied a little bit. Because I remember when I had it last year, it looked different, wasn't nearly as hazy, was a little paler maybe. And they give you a whole bunch of nice info on the can about this one. They used to just kind of call it a Mosaic IPA, and that's what they were featuring. But now they put Cascade, Citra, Columbus, Ella, and Mosaic all on there. And I think it's just in alphabetical order, actually. And the grist is Pilsner, Pale, and Oat Malt. So nothing really dark in that. And they even give you the final gravity, which is 1.009. Alcohol's 8% and 85 IBUs. But they say that they're going for a very aromatic and not very bitter IPA. And I'm pretty sure they accomplished it. But this seemed, I don't know, it seemed a little bit different on tap at the brewery the day that I bought this. But I also got it in a tiny little cup, so the color looked a little bit paler maybe. And it just seems like it was kind of a mellow IPA the last couple times I had it. But I haven't haven't had a can in a week. So we'll see. Yeah, this can is still a little slightly dark there. But that is kind of in part of from the haze, I think. I don't have much backlighting there, but you can see that it's totally opaque. But in the aroma of this beer, I don't really get any caramel or toasty or roasty, intense crystal malts or anything. It's a very, I mean, I feel like I can smell the oats. It smells kind of like a Cheerios type of malt. Maybe with like a touch of vanilla almost, not quite. More of a kind of Orange Julius flavor happening with maybe sort of general vanilla-y flavors and lots of orange juice. And what I don't get very much from this is much onion or dankness. But that might show up a little bit later, as it often does with IPAs as they warm. But it's not a gigantic aroma. I mean, it's plenty of aroma. You can definitely get a good nose full of this beer. And it's not insanely carbonated. I should have brought other light so you could see how it glows a little bit in the light. But it's definitely, there's not nearly as much malt character as you might think there'd be from a beer that is this dark, but really when you hold it up to the light, it's more of an orange, a deep orange, not quite brown like it's looking now. But I think to really get the aroma, it has to warm up, and I got to be able to dip my nose real deep into the glass. And it's drier than you might think. No, not caramely at all. Very light body. And just pretty juicy, but not in a big tropical fruit way. It's mostly very floral, honey, and a little bit herbal, but not quite the green onion garlicky scale. I would say it's Mostly it's like flowers, maybe a little bit of lavender, but not quite intensely spicy like that. But very low bitterness, light body, not too sweet. I mean, it's dry, and the bitterness builds up a little bit, but it's just a really, really easy sipper. And the heat, I'm just sort of noticing it in my throat a little bit. But a lot of people go crazy for this beer, which is surprising because it's, at least this batch is kind of mellow. It's very good and unique, but I feel like it's mellowed quite a bit after 2 weeks. Good thing I'm finishing my last can right now. I feel like maybe they upped the oats in this one or something. Like the oats maybe help the body a little bit more than they would, considering how dry this is. Like it's very dry and not very bitter, and that's how they kind of pull off this mellowness. But a little more sweetness might make it seem a little bit juicier. But I'm not getting much of the classic citra cakey elements. There's a little bit of mango, but not a lot of mango and scallion that I often get from Mosaic. It's interesting. It seems like it's got more classic IPA aromas and flavors, even though they are using Mosaic and Citra hops. But it's really unique. Maybe it's a little bit more like a heady topper flavor, except that one's, I think, a little bit more in your face bitterness and in your face hop aroma. It'd be interesting to taste this if any kegs get down here around Boston. I'll probably go back up to Portland sometime soon and see how it is. But this brewery is really tiny, and I bet they're tweaking and playing with the recipe all the time. But now maybe I'm getting a little bit of that herbaceous green dank quality. But there is, it's a kind of yeasty, oaty vanilla sulfuriness that reminds me of, vanilla or honey nut Cheerios. That's a lot of the flavor that I'm getting in this beer. It's kind of like almost maybe perhaps a gateway double IPA for people who are like, oh, double IPAs are just way too bitter and too sweet and just attack your palate. This one doesn't do that too much, but it does give you some of the flavors that you're desiring. But honestly, when I first had this, I was like, well, I was a little let down, but that was after having some intensely bitter aromatic IPAs. Like I think I first tasted a can of this year after I had an Equinox IPA from Other Half. Equinox is just one of the most pungent in your face, woody, kind of fruity hops, but just bam with onion and smoke and green pepper. See, I guess I see a few little chunks in there. The haze keeps it from being too intense, yeah. Like, I would recommend giving this one a shot, but I feel like maybe they haven't mastered their recipe or figured out exactly what they want to do with this beer, and that's totally cool. They're onto something really, really interesting with this one. Yeah, this batch just might be not quite the best, and I feel kind of bad rating it a little lower than it might be, even though a lot of people, I looked at this batch and they're like saying, oh, it's great, but a lot of people jump on the hype train. So it's difficult to rate. I mean, I might just give this one like an 8, because maybe just my expectations. Like if you gave this to me and weren't saying that it's like the most dank in your face rare small batch double IPA you're ever going to get, it's not really that. It's something else. At least this batch is. But I'll probably just do an 8 or 80. And yeah, it looks actually, it's a lot more turbid than that. I'm realizing that it's got some color to it here. Let's see if this helps. Doing that always makes it look beautiful. Yeah, but now you can see it. Yeah, it's got that glow. But not insanely mind-blowing. So just an 80 for the Foundation Epiphany. Or Scottie Piffen. Goodbye.